Hello, and today I am with my lovely friend Dee Taylor Mason, and Dee and myself are going to be talking today to Simon Rowe. Simon Rowe is, like myself, a channel, but he channels in a different way to me. One would probably refer to this as trance channeling or deep trance channeling. We'll be speaking to Simon about that. He is communicating with, like myself, a collective consciousness, a group that present as one entity, as the nine do occasionally. The name that he gives this consciousness is Altheris. So we will also be watching Simon as he brings forward Altheris today and goes into that communication. So it should be a really interesting talk. So please stay with us and we'll see where it goes. Hi Dee, hi Simon.
Hi,
Hello.
nice to see you. Nice to see you again, Simon.
Excellent,
Yeah.
great. So, do you want to start with some questions or shall I?
Yes, first of all, Simon, having met you before, I saw you at the Positive Living Group in Bournemouth,
Yes,
which was
yes, you did.
very interesting. And I remember you getting quite hot when you were going into your altered state. I'm just very curious, really, as to when this happened for you. When did you start to channel?
It's a very difficult question to answer that, because there are times, certainly in my life, where I felt that I've been in touch with something that's perhaps been of a more high vibrational energy than myself. Certainly in my childhood, I've had experiences of seeing what we call ghosts or spirits. I've had lucid dreams that I've obviously participated in. But I've also had quite a strong connection with the intuitive nature of like being in the world, the kind of intuitive voice telling you that this is the right thing to do or you shouldn't go down that path. So it's been, I guess, a steady, progressive thing, but the trance channeling really started probably about 13, 14 months ago in 2012, in July 2012, when I went on a channeling course, because I was presented with the opportunity of, I guess, cementing a connection with the universal energy field. And it was on this channeling course, which I really only went along to see whether I could communicate with the universe or just to hear the universe talking. And it was on the second day of that just this energy within myself arose that was saying to me, just let go, just let go of the story of you, Simon, just let go of the physical body, just see what happens. And I guess through desiring it and intending it, which is part of our manifestation process, I really let go of who Simon is, really let go of the story of everything that I've done in my life up to that point, and intentionally, from an energetic point of view, just moved aside from the physical body. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I let go, just something, an energy stream through the crown chakra, an energy stream just came shooting into the body. And on one level, it was really quite painful, because our physical bodies are really attuned to the way we live our lives on a day-to-day basis. But when you change the nature of the energy that's actually in your body, and your muscles are not used to that, there's a contortion, there's overheating. So yeah, it was about 12, 13 months ago when the single energy, which we called Altheris, came through. And from that moment on, my life was just changed, absolutely changed.
Yeah. It's interesting, the physical changes within the body. You seem to have adjusted to that very quickly, would you say?
I don't really have anything to gauge it against, other than the more you practice, the more you are perhaps in meditation, the more you're raising your own vibrational frequency anyway, then you can move the physical body or the physical energy to actually meet that which is the universal energy. But I do know, and I have to say that, and I think most channels go through this process, is that there's a series of ongoing upgrading of the physical body.
Yes.
And how they, I use that word,
Yes.
how they choose their timing,
Yes.
sometimes it's totally beyond me, because it can be at 3-4 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And suddenly there's a jolt, I'm awake, and something is streaming through. So, and it's just actually setting yourself aside again and allowing that to come through. But yeah, over time, so there was a big shift in my vibrational energy for channeling around 12/12/12.
Yes.
And then on the 13th of the 12th, the group showed itself. Again, we've called the group Altheris because it seems to encompass everything that they are. Very different, because there's allegedly 144, which is what they're saying they are within that group. And it is, again, just a different experience. So I would imagine that the body, the physical body, has been prepared by them to allow that kind of energy to come through.
Yes, I understand that. I do some channeling myself, but it took me some years. This has been a very quick forward movement for you with this
Yeah,
energy.
Fast tracking. Some
Yeah.
people
Fast tracking.
fast track through.
yeah,
Both Dee, obviously you don't do trance channeling
No.
anymore, but you have done in the past,
Mhm.
and obviously this is how you
Mm.
work. And with me, it's a very light, altered state of consciousness that I'm so used to that often I barely notice the altered state.
Right.
It's at the point for me where it feels like it's just me all the time, so I don't actually feel like I'm in any kind of trance. So, but with you and I, and Dee as well, are getting similar information that's in alignment with one another. So what would you say is the difference then between the way I channel and the way that deep trance channeling works?
I think it's in a phase where it's the personal journey, and in terms of the way you channel, where you're saying sometimes you just appear to be channeling, or you get that sense that you're channeling. For me, it's been a journey of something around really testing my identity. So in the very early stages, what I, as Simon would do, would create a clear barrier between, okay, so this is Simon and how Simon lives in the world, and this is Altheris, and this is how Altheris come into the world. And I would develop a process which originally was about 20 minutes long. It's very quick now. But over that 20 minutes, I'd go into deep meditation through consciousness. I'd shift myself out of the physical body, and I would be consciously aware of that happening. And then there'd be a few portals that I'd go through to distance myself from the physical body.
Right.
And then there was a last, I guess, fraction of a second where I knew that I'd actually fully left the physical body, and then Altheris would come through. Now, over time, what's happened is that time frame has shortened, and there's a beginning to be a blurring of the Simon story and the Altheris concept, such to the point that where I actually think I'm getting closer to where you are, in that sometimes I can't tell whether I'm, or, well, I say hopefully I'm saying, whether Altheris has taken over, or what is being streamed is Altheris.
Yeah.
So it's actually really quite difficult. You have to gauge people's reactions to you, to kind of really truly, and there's certain things, for instance, on Facebook, I've got a Facebook account, and I'll write things, and I know that is not how I write.
Yes.
It's not something that I would the way I would use prose or
Yeah.
whatever. So I can say that wasn't me, that was Altheris.
Yeah.
But then there's other times when it's just clearly me.
Yes,
But
Yeah.
that blurring and blending is kind of taking on a bit of a
Yeah.
sleeve at the moment.
yes, yeah.
It does sound, the way you're explaining it, does sound exactly the same with me, really.
Mm.
That you explained about, getting out of the way, a stream coming
Mm.
through. The only difference is that I don't leave my physical body.
Right.
I stay in my physical body and merge with the nine.
Okay.
And because I've done it for so long, I'm now in a point where if somebody wants to speak to me as Magenta, then that's what they will have. If somebody
Yeah.
wants to speak to the nine, then that's what they will have. If someone isn't particularly, doesn't have a preference whether they're speaking to Magenta or the nine, then they'll get a blend of the two of us.
Okay.
And sometimes I can say, hello, my name is Magenta, this is me speaking, and other times it will be, hello, we are the nine, speaking through Magenta, and it's
Mhm.
kind of like a in and out. So, but with you, you explain going through these series of portals.
Yeah.
And I obviously don't do
Mhm.
that, and obviously you're
No,
not
I don't
anymore
do that,
either.
no.
We're staying. So really interesting. What's the experience that you are feeling emotionally? Is this a blissful love? Is it a mix of emotions?
The journey itself has been a complete mix of emotions, to the point where, people give their view of what the process is that you're going through, but obviously only you know deep down what the process is. And a few people that I've come across on the path is they're saying, don't forget it's you. And of course I kind of set myself up as, actually it's not me, there's a Simon here and there's an Altheris here, and the two are separate. And then, certainly 3 people, and I always, think 3 is significant. 3 people in very quick succession said to me, don't forget it's you, which really started to crumble and attack that barrier. And so I went through a kind of short-phased identity crisis as to, is it Simon or is it Altheris? But the reality of it is that if you come from the perspective of oneness, and you come from the perspective that we are all part of the same energy field, then I am you and you are me, and Altheris is me and I am Altheris, and anyone listening to this is all part of all there is.
Absolutely.
So emotionally it has been quite a ride, but that's now starting to settle, and it is becoming more of a blissful journey. There's a lot of joy that I get from, say, we're all language now. When I come back, having seen a client who's come to speak with Altheris, just this sense of knowing, this sense of deep satisfaction that they have around their own kind of story and what they learn. It is just a joyful way to be of service.
Wow.
Mm.
So, anyone listening to this who is perhaps just starting to make that connection, or has been making that connection for a while, can you give them any advice? I mean, should they be doing it like me? Should they be doing it like you? Should they be doing it in the unique way to them? If they specifically want to trance channel, how can they evolve that?
Yeah. I think in terms of the expansiveness of possibilities, anything is possible. I think there's a clear connection between the story that you are, the daily life that you live, and the interactions that you have with people and the different energies you come into contact with. Talking more about human beings rather than universal energies. And the life lessons that you're working through and the stuck energy inside you tends to, from what I can gather, dictate the level of channeling that you can do. And the more you clear yourself, the more your energy flows freely, the easier the universal energy flows through the physical body, the more you're open to the higher vibrational frequencies. So what I would say is the first thing really to recognise is that you're not your physical body. It is that question, or the 2 questions that I always ask is, who am I and what am I? And they are distinct in themselves. The who, I think, is the story of the human being, the life you've created. and the what is that you are part of oneness, that you are the universal energy field, part of that. And once you really start to live that as your way of being and truly understand that you are connected to everybody, but you are a human being, you've got a story that you're living, you can then start to see the lessons as they come through. You can then start to clear. And there are many different ways of channeling at different times or stages in your life. There's automatic writing, there's listening to the intuitive voice and acting on that. There's conscious channeling, where you are in your body and there's a stream of consciousness coming through and you're just allowing it to come through, translating it into the way that you see. There's the way I do it, which is moving out of the body, and it seems to me to be all valid in the place that you are at. There's no, I wouldn't put myself up and say this is the best form of channeling. It's the best form of channeling for me, and there's a best form of channeling for the, everyone in the place that they're in.
Fabulous. And would you say painters and musicians and actors and fantasy writers, children's writers, they're all channeling too?
Yeah, I think that's, I'm getting my kind of truth barometer going now.
Yeah.
It is when you see someone who's absolutely in the flow of what they're doing, to me that's when their story has really kind of moved out and they're just allowing universal consciousness awareness to come through. You can question, okay, 4-year-old children playing the violin or the piano to the standard that they do, are they channeling? And it's like, you've got to say yes. There's some deeper, more, I don't know, it's so hard to describe. There's a deeper connection to where source energy comes from that flows directly through them.
It's a total focus, isn't it? To focus
Yeah.
on the mind, to actually
Yeah.
get into that state.
Well, it is to get into that state, I agree, but I think there's a little bit after that where actually
They just go.
they let go.
Yes.
There's no individuated mind. They're part of the great one mind or the great one soul, and it's just a total letting go of that.
And isn't it happening more and more across the
More
world?
and more. Yeah, totally. And with technology, we're all exposed to it now. We can all see it happening. We can see it on the television. We can see it on YouTube. Whatever. It's all out there. Yeah.
So can I ask, obviously you're in your deep trance and you don't really recollect when you're in
No.
that great state. Do you have moments when Altheris does talk to you?
Yes.
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
you go into trance, you remove yourself on a physical level from the body, bring Altheris in, and you don't remember what took place.
No.
But there are other times when you and Altheris communicate.
Yeah. It depends on the desire. Certainly what I've found over the 12, 13 months is that for 9 or 10 months I wouldn't remember anything. I would have to listen to the audio playbacks or the recordings. And then I don't know who I actually spoke to, but I had a chat with somebody and they said it's actually what you desire. If you desire to remember, then gradually you will start to remember bits and pieces of what's been said, and that's what's happening.
Right.
There is a growing curiosity, not least because I just don't have the time to listen to all of the audios. But then at other times, like I say, I can be woken up at like 3, 4 in the morning and there's a download of information, or like today, I was just standing at the breakfast bar, and suddenly there's either an image or there's a kind of phrase that might come through, but it's all connected to the energetic environment that I'm in. So if I'm in the presence of somebody, I may get something come through. I don't always pass it on.
No.
I have to say, sometimes it's
No,
not
you
appropriate to.
no.
You wouldn't do that. But it just gives you a clearer insight into the situation that you find yourself in.
Very useful within your
It is
work.
very useful.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
useful indeed.
Yeah.
The 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning thing, I've heard that a lot from clients. It used to happen to me. what I would say there is, if you're okay on a physical level with getting up at 3 and allowing this to come through, then there's no problem because you're working as a team.
Yes.
If you don't want that, if you want to go back to sleep, and you can, I've found, hold it and
Yes.
say, look, my physical body needs to sleep. I don't want to channel right now, but hold that energy, kind of store it if you like,
Yeah.
for maybe 8:30, 9, more appropriate. Let me have a bit more sleep, and you will find that you can. It's an awkward feeling because it's like there. It kind of sits there like a cloud, and if you try to get on with your daily sort of activities, you're aware of it and you think, I have got to make some space to bring this through.
Yeah.
I liken it to any female who has breastfed her baby will understand. It's like you have milk and baby's slept for too long and you're thinking, oh my goodness, baby needs to wake up and feed. It's the same thing. Anyone who's breastfed will understand that needs to come out. It needs to be fed, and when baby wakes up and you start to feed, then you're like, oh, thank goodness for that. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like this store of energy, and if you keep waiting and waiting, I mean, there are times when if you don't bring it through, it can go away, but if it's important, it waits for you to then find the time to either write it out or get a recorder on and speak it. So have you ever tried storing it, or do you usually just, you're there and like, okay, 4 o'clock, I'm up, yeah?
I've always had, at the moment, obviously, very early on in the career of being a channeler, I've had this sense that I'm kind of obligated to receive, because it's such a privilege to be able to access that kind of information, or whether it's being called chosen, I don't know, but just allowing that to come through. At the moment, what I have is a contract, and that I say between Simon and Altheris is that I have a physical body as Simon, so it needs energy, it needs sleep, and so when the body's tired, when the body is dehydrated, for instance, then I'll do my best to keep it in a healthy condition, provided that when you come in and utilise the physical body and you expend the energy, that you water it, that you do all the necessary things, and that's working quite well in terms of the exchange of energy. So I used to come back into the physical body and it would be totally depleted and I'd have to go and sleep for like 2 or 3 hours. Now it's maybe 5 minutes, bit of a recovery, but there is this understanding that we both don't own this physical body.
Oh, interesting.
Are there any particular foods or liquids that assist with this process?
Well, water is absolutely key. The other thing that we've started to do is look at juicing and all the natural, sun-fed type foods that are clear of processing, clear of additives or chemicals, just to try and get the body as purified as possible. So fruit, veg, I wouldn't even say that meat is off the menu, because I do eat meat occasionally, but from a conscious perspective, if you're satisfied that the provider of the fruit or veg, or the provider of the meat, and I'm talking about the trees and the earth and the planet or the animal, have lived a healthy life, have lived a respected life, then there isn't a reason not to eat meat.
So you wouldn't eat battery farmed meat?
No.
That's
No,
really good.
I wouldn't do
that's
that,
really
because
good.
that's not in harmony.
No,
And
not in alignment. You'd be able to feel the fear
definitely
from the animal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an intuitive thing, isn't it, with the juicing? I do from time to time, not all the time.
It seems anyone I come across anywhere who is in connection with that higher vibration, they are getting this same information about food. I mean, I'm vegan now. It's been a slow progression from vegetarian to vegan, now looking at more of the raw foods, to do with alignment with the body and the life force, and we're all getting the same information. It's not bombarded as if it's you must do this,
No.
but it's a constant reminder. Like you say, you hear something 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, you'll hear these things keep coming in. It's just guidance, light guidance, always within your free will, and then you make the choice. Think, okay, I'm going to try and reduce my dairy consumption. I'm going to try and only eat ethically sourced meat, and we are all getting the same information. I think there's a lot of confusion about this as well, because people who haven't got that are thinking all these spiritual people, the reason why they've become spiritual is because they're eating vegan or they're eating raw food, so they think that makes them spiritual, they think that makes them join the club. But the truth is, this is the information we're all getting. We haven't sort of contacted each other and thought, right, let's all become raw foodists and vegans, and let's see if we can wear it like a badge and we're in the club. It's not like that at all.
No.
You know, we have chosen to move into an alignment with everything that matches our frequency. That's everything we do, everything we think, everywhere we go, and it includes our food.
Yeah, I think that's a danger in people labelling people as spiritual. I think this is above and beyond being spiritual. This is about being in alignment with the universe and letting the energy flow.
About being human.
It is about being human.
Consciously
and part
aware,
of humanity.
isn't it? Consciously aware.
Yeah, certainly.
So do you find when you're drinking, say, juicing, smoothies, possibly, I don't know if you've tried superfoods like spirulina and all that? And
I haven't gone down the road that far. I mean,
okay.
it's certainly one of those areas where we're starting to
I'm
explore.
only just starting to explore that as well.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, I'm quite sensitive to taking in a new food because I'm so clear. So if I take a superfood in, I'm like whoosh, you know.
Yeah.
What I wanted to know is if you start to incorporate more raw foods, juicing, superfoods, does that make your channeling even clearer, or does it make it easier to bring Altheris through?
I think it certainly makes it easier to bring Altheris through. The one super liquid is water,
Right.
and
right.
the clarity and the purity of water, in terms of its kind of crystallized structure.
What kind of water are we looking at here then?
Well, you can talk about mineral water. You can talk about the difference between that and tap water, which has got additives in it, but it's also and it's starting to come out into the world now about how we can impact the quality of the water through intention, through showing love to what. And I'm looking at water because that's where it is. But if you set your intention, and it's the same with food as well, but if you set your intention as to the quality and the vibrancy of the food that you take in, that then does become your physical body, which then does allow energy to flow more freely, then that's what happens. And for me, I have to say that I've had a seriously bad diet for something like 46, 47 years, and the body is so finely attuned to receiving that diet that I love biscuits, I love sugary things, but that's also because that's what the physical body has become. Sometimes I use the word addicted to.
Yes, and it is an addiction.
It is. It needs it to, or it feels it needs it to function. And I wouldn't recommend, because this is how I used to do things, is okay, if I see something, I'm going to stop doing this and I'm going to go and do that. And it's such an extreme thing, and the impact on the body is actually quite difficult. And so I've been through a process where I was eating unhealthily. I then went and ate really healthily, and I couldn't sustain it. The physical body just went into withdrawal.
Detox as
well.
Major detox.
Yeah, so fascinating that. But what I would recommend is that it's a step-by-step process.
That's how I've done it, a slow process. But there are people I know that have done it quick like that, and they've fought through the detox, and they've gone through a terrible process, and then they've come out and they describe it like the fog just clears and they feel amazing. So I think each and every person different there.
Exactly.
But I've done it the way series of upgrades. Think, right, what's next? You know, let's release, if it's a sugar addiction, let's reduce the sugar for, say, a month, and then reduce it again to the point where, and sometimes you can go back. You know, you go, say, wheat-free and it's working really well, and then you go out somewhere and there's nothing to eat that hasn't got wheat in, and you go back again, and then you think, I need to get back on. Whatever it may be that you're following, gluten-free, wheat-free, from cooked to raw, whatever it is you're doing, I think it's a slow process. And as long as you're on a road of upgrades, everything's an upgrade, and even if you go back, you think, okay, get back on that path again, then you're in alignment, because that's life, isn't it?
Well, that is life, and that's, you know, what being consciously aware of what your life is. I think one of the important things also that people need to be aware of is why they're doing something, because there is a lot of, you know, the blind leading the blind in the world. But if you do raise your vibrational frequency, if you do raise your conscious awareness, there isn't actually any going back. Once you've experienced it, and you know what it brings, and the high quality of life that it brings you, you may slip back.
But it's not really a slip back.
It's not a slip back. No.
Do you have any further questions for Simon before we ask about Altheris's message and why Altheris is here?
No, I'm looking forward to meeting Altheris again.
Can we ask you directly why, you know, from Altheris's point of view, from the perspective of Altheris, what's his reason or their reason for coming here to you know, the entire humanity at this point, and for coming to you, Simon? What's the process? What's the reason?
That's a very big question.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Let's bring the big questions on. And it's all an interpretation of how I see it at this moment in time. My understanding from some of the teachings that authors have given is that everything is an energy. Everything is within an energy field, and how we differentiate between Magenta or Dee or Simon, how we differentiate that is the density of the vibrational frequency, and there's very little difference, there's a fractional difference between you as a vibrational frequency, you and me, and so the totality of humanity is the sum of all the humans that are part of it, and energy naturally wants to balance itself. So there's positive energy, there's negative energy, and there's neutral energy, and energy wants to move towards balance. So Altheris as energy is drawn to this part of the universe because there's a predominance of negative energy within humanity, but when you don't separate humanity and the earth, there's a predominance of negative energy in this part of the universe. So it draws that negative energy, draws positive energies towards it to neutralise it. And that's what's drawn Altheris here. To firstly, behind the scenes of humanity, to try and balance out the negativity, but also to inform and bring forward the possibility of how humanity can exist in a different way, at a higher vibrational frequency, at a higher level of consciousness. That is predominantly, I think, why they're here. They're simply drawn because of how the universe naturally works, but also there's a lovingness about how humanity has found itself in this position, and their desire to assist. I don't think they're vested in humanity doing anything either way. It's a natural process, and humanity itself will decide whether it collectively wants to raise its consciousness. But I think, certainly through my own desire and my understanding of them, it's about giving humanity options. Not saying do this or do that, but this is another way you could be doing, say, education or politics or finance or whatever it is. So it's about the universe taking care of itself, really.
Wow.
So in effect, you're grounding that energy.
Mm.
Would you say that you're the conduit for the grounding
Yeah.
of the energy?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. And
Mm.
Altheris, are they positive energy, negative energy, or neutral energy, or do they stand as all three?
Well, I think they stand as all three because all three exist in all there is, and that's where they're saying that they're from. I think they have the ability, and as we do as human beings, is when we really closely look at what's happening in our lives, if we can see that something is negative, we can bring in a positive energy, or we can neutralise it. Their fundamental message is that you can't exist for a sustained period of time in positivity. It will exhaust itself, and the true energy of the universe is neutral. It's not this or that. It's just allowing. It's just observing, and the observer energy or the allowing is in the neutral position.
The 0 point?
Yes, call it the 0 point, because obviously you don't have positive numbers going up or negative numbers going down, but the 0.
So there's too much of a balance of negative energy. So entities and groups like Altheris will come in on a positive stream.
Mhm.
This is why the physical body, that's the conduit for that Christ consciousness, if you
Yeah.
like, will polarize in a service to others,
Yes.
positive place, to neutralize this amount of negativity, to
Yes.
bring us back to the 0 point, which
That's
is
right.
a perfect blend of oneness, which is neither positive
Mm.
nor negative.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Perfect, yeah. That's a really good
Really good,
explanation
really
of that.
good, yeah.
And a different dimension of talking about the channeling
Yeah.
and how that works. That's
And it's
brilliant.
the nine have said the same
Mm.
thing, and it's difficult to teach that because you have to teach it through a positive vibration.
Yes.
So and the neutral can be a little bit scary for people
Mm.
because they think, well, if it's neutral, it can't be positive. Well, no, it's not positive, but what it's finding is balance, the 0 point.
That's right. And
Mm.
people are used to society saying you've got to have an emotion about this, you've got to have a feeling about it. And there's also a scary aspect of, well, you know, what am I if I don't show emotions? And emotions are positive and emotions are negative. We're not taught that emotions can be neutral as well. And the observer position is simply a neutral emotion, that you're watching what's happening. Yeah, you know, if you do have negative emotions, that they may or may not be your own emotions that you're picking up. So it's important to understand that you have your own collection of emotions and feelings and where they come from, but also you are part of a much greater field of energy that is the collectiveness of humanity. Is, you know, whether that's neutral or whether it can come back from this negative aspect into neutrality, or whether what often happens as we experience as human beings is that we may be negative, but rather than go to neutral, we swing all the way into positive, and we get on this kind of pendulum motion. And my sense would be is that that's how humanity might change the nature of itself, that it'll eventually recognise that it's within the negative field, and it will overcompensate, and it'll just become totally and utterly positive, and then it'll realise that that's not sustainable, and then it'll eventually...
Do you think that's what's happening now?
I think it is. I think across the world you are starting to see large groups of people in different countries around the world recognising that they have existed within a state of negativity for far too long. But rather than, well, the recognition of that is bringing up anger, and that's then changing the format or the structure of the society that they're living in. But there will be too much positivity, because it then generates, you know, happiness, joy, bliss. We did it. This is the way to do it. But again, I'd say I don't feel that's sustainable. I think it will slip back until there's a blending of all the energies across the planet. All the nations of Earth come together as one and part of the greater one, to understand that love exists in the neutral. It does exist in the positive and the negative, but in the main, the source of love is in the neutral position.
Do you have to go into the positive vibration in order to manifest the balance to get us to the 0 point? Is that where we manifest from the positive side?
I think we do. Well, I think we manifest from the 0 point. I think we manifest from neutrality. But similar to the place you were talking about, how some people can approach a change of diet, that they just do it, and some people will go from, once they get it, some people will go from a negative disposition directly into neutral. That is possible, but because of how we in society have been educated, preconditioned and conditioned through our childhood to where we are today, it's very much ingrained within humanity or individuals to feel as if they've got to go from the negative straight to the positive. And I would say most people would know that that isn't sustainable, because when they check in with themselves, it just doesn't ring true that they're overly positive about something.
What I'm finding as well with clients is they are believing and expecting their spiritual path to be one of positivity and sustainability
I
within
agree.
that, so that when they fail and they see it as a failure because they were angry for 1 hour, they were really annoyed with their neighbour, or they were really cross when their car broke down, or whatever it may be, they feel they've failed. And I get this so much, and so when they come to me, I say to them, we're not looking for a 24/7 bliss at this point.
No.
It is achievable through the silence and through the peace, but it's okay to use those emotional swings.
It is.
As long as you're on that upgrade. But just in case there's anyone who's not quite getting this model that you are presenting, which is absolute truth of reality, could we also present this another way through the chakras? What I'm kind of seeing here is someone who is aiming for this sustainability of positivity have activated the heart chakra and not balanced this with the solar plexus, for example, which is the strength, the warrior sort of energy, or you know, the base chakra, the sacral chakra. Can that be explained in the same way through the chakras? Are we looking at the neutral and the 0 point being a total blend of chakras so that the energy body becomes one, rather than working with the heart and not the other chakras? Can that be explained in the same way?
I think you're totally right. I think when we talk about balance, or we talk about the 0 point, we're talking about how energy flows, and if there is an openness in one area but a closeness in another, then the energy will fluctuate, and that's how we as human beings fluctuate emotionally. In terms of the heart chakra, and I would say also the crown, third eye and the throat, they're the primary chakras that need to be in alignment in order to allow the universal field of energy to come through. But the base chakra and the sacral and solar plexus are the grounding energies, which are the more human way of being in the world. So it's important to balance spirit and humanity, or the physical, to get that neutrality or that balance.
Whereas you find a lot of people awakening to a spiritual path will go straight into the heart.
Exactly.
I did, you know, and didn't work on the other chakras, so I was very much, I think the name is Space Cadet or Fluffy Bunny or something like that. And I admit, you know, 20 years ago that's how I was, and you know, I'd have people come to me and say, I'm really upset, I'm really angry, I'm really jealous with this person, you know, and I want to just be so angry with them and go and harm them or something. And my reply would be, at that time, just send them love. You know, just send them love, feel love, buy a crystal and you'll be fine. And that, it's still happening, perhaps not to the degree maybe that it was. It isn't helpful because that person isn't going to get that. It's completely over their head. You have to come down into the lower chakras and say, of course you're angry. Of course you're jealous. This person has crossed you. You're human. What do we do about it? Do we go and harm them and, you know, drive your car through their front door or whatever it is you want to do? Or do we look at what this emotion is teaching us and then find the balance from it and work it out within? So I think a lot of people are in the heart, and a lot of people are teaching, and out there, you know, teaching many, because of the internet, you know, anyone can be online and teach this. And I feel that it is important to teach all of the levels, all the chakras, and just what you're saying, the neutrality, the positive, the negative, and embrace every single section. It isn't easy, is it? It isn't an easy path.
It's not, because there are 7. Well, there's more than 7.
There's more than 7, but the 7 is the basic model,
The basic model, and if you take the basic model to understand the nature of each of those energy centres and the impact that it has on not just itself but the overall energy system, then it can be quite complex in terms of, I'm a human being, what do I do? Do I need to come from the heart? Do I need to be able to speak my truth? Do I need to be able to see where I'm going? Do I need to be able to listen and receive? It's a complex way of being in the world.
Complex and simple as well.
And simple.
Simplicity and complexity in one moment.
I think the human tends to make things far too complex. And as you say, if they can move towards simplicity, and simplicity exists within neutrality.
Yes.
So it's a movement towards that.
Fabulous, Simon. Really good stuff. Do you have anything else to ask, Simon?
No, I think I'm blown away by that, because I'm feeling already Altheris is with us.
Well, I did as well, and I think as soon as you started to explain this, if I'd not met you before, I would say you were channeling already. I know you haven't even gone into trance yet, but there was a 50-50 blend, or you know, whatever percentage you want to give it, 80% Simon, 20%. Because when you recall teachings that you've been given from the higher self, as you recall that, the memory triggers the entity back.
It does, and also the feeling and the sensations that were there when it was first delivered.
Yes.
Would you like to go into trance and bring Altheris through?
I'm very happy to do that.
That would be lovely.
Okay.
Good. And then we will interview Altheris.
Yes.
Okay, so Simon, if you would like to bring Altheris through for us to talk to, that would be great.
That's fine. It's an intriguing thing for anyone who's interested, is that my experience of channeling has affected the physiology of the body such that they can't see with my glasses on.
Okay.
So I have to remove my glasses, but the reason I remove my glasses is because they have clear vision. So and also over time my own vision is starting to improve. So there are other health benefits to channeling. So
Wow.
Can you connect with me,
please?
please?
Yeah, that's really great.
So it's not going to take 20 minutes. Just take a moment. So.
Just a few minutes.
Sorry.
Hello. Delighted that you're here.
Hello,
Altheris. Thank you.
How are you both?
Feeling very well, thank you. How are you?
We are fine. We have never been not well.
That's
completely in balance.
It's a matter of how you see yourself in the world, of course.
Yes. Yes.
Are you okay with us asking you some questions, Altheris?
That is fine. That is why we are drawn here, to be with you at this moment in time, to be able to communicate with you, to be able to communicate with as many people as is possible, so that humanity can begin to understand the present position that it is in.
Lovely, thank you. Dee?
Yeah, I'm curious about, I'm hearing more and more about gifted children, these children who are starting to heal at a very young age and have insights which they're putting into place. And what is it that we can do to help and assist them on their journey?
What is important is to firstly recognise that the child is gifted, that the energy flow through that child's physical body is not just the, we would say, conditioned nature of humanity as they desire children to be brought up in the world, but But there are children that are starting to come through of a different energetic nature, of a different connection to that which is the universal field. So it's important firstly for human beings who are not of that vibrational frequency to accept, to be able to witness and see their energy for what it is, that it is a greater level of consciousness, or a greater, we would say, smoother transition through that of being a human being, but the connection with that which is the universal. So when you come across a child like that, it's important to, which is not often the way that human beings desire, but it is better for the boundaries that confine the child into being a conditioned human being to be removed, to allow them free expression, free, we would say, exploration, and free development of their curiosity in how this world works. Because unless they have the truth, unless they have the understanding of how humanity works and how humanity's relationship with the planet flows, then they will be confined in the nature of how they can impact humanity as a whole. But they are the guiding lights coming through from the universe.
Yes, yes. Do you see for the future schools operating on a different vibration?
Well, that is important. There are many things that we can offer humanity, and of course we are not vested in whether humanity decides it wishes to raise its vibrational frequency. That is for humanity to decide. But there are different ways for humanity to live in the world, because living in the world is what you do as human beings. But there are, for instance, different ways of educating people. There are different ways of bringing children into that space far quicker. For instance, you might introduce meditation in schools where there is an introduction into, and of course you understand what children are like in the playground. They love the curiosity, they love screaming and shouting, and that is what they do. But there is also a place in school for silence and stillness, the reconnection with that which is the physical body, but then through that the understanding they are beyond the physical body, they are connected to something that is much higher and much greater than that which is the confines of the life they are creating.
Thank you. Thank you.
Altheris, if I might ask, recently, as I too am a conduit for a collective, recently I have been shown some vibrations, if you like, that I am not fully aware of, and I have not fully processed these vibrations as myself, as Magenta, and I'm working with bringing these vibrations through. They have many names. I wonder if you might be able to assist me into perhaps shedding some light on what these vibrations might mean. The names that I know of are the diamond light, the platinum ray, the blue star alignment, and the 12th dimensional matrix or 12th dimensional template or gateway. Can you assist me here?
It is interesting how humanity devises all these names for fundamentally what is the same thing, a vibrational frequency. And each vibrational frequency has a different quality, has a different, we would say, purity about it. And there is an infinite number of vibrational frequencies, from the infinite top to the infinite low. But when you are talking about different types of frequency that distill or allow the human being or the human body to raise itself at a much quicker rate, as if these vibrational frequencies are not here. So what's important is these vibrational frequencies come from the centre of the universe. They are, if you like, travelling on the solar winds, but it is how they are drawn to this particular part, and each one has its own purity. So depending on how it comes into the physical body, how you understand and translate it into the physical life of the human being will depend upon the success of how that human being then creates a different way of being in the world. And of course you have different names for them, which you can call them anything, but it is the purity of the energy that is coming through.
Thank you. Dee?
Yes, I'm jumping to a different subject really, but it still involves energies. I understand have been getting the idea, and it's been coming in various forms, as to the importance of an eclipse which is due on the 18th of this month, and a portal which is about to open. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Well, the eclipse itself, of course, is indicative of shadow, and how the shadow itself then, as you move through the eclipse, allows the energy to come more freely into position. And when you talk about portals, it is an energy stream. Within that which is space, there are portals, and you can call them long distance tubes or whatever you want to call them, but in terms of what is a portal, it is a connection between that which is on the far side of the universe to that which is within the nature of the Earth and the position that it holds within the solar system. So the portals, they open and they close, but they open and close in relation to the planetary alignment. So it's important that when the planets are in alignment, for instance, when the eclipse is occurring, then the portal, it is a trigger, because it is the energy of the eclipse that then triggers the portal to open and allows a new energy, which would take, in terms of human time, forever to reach this part of the universe, but the portal itself allows it to come instantaneously, and with that energy comes new information about the way of being in the world, because as you are aware, you are not the only civilization. In the universe there are many different civilizations right across the universe itself, and it is the exchange of energy, the exchange of the totality through the wholeness of the universe that allows that to come through. So the portals act as a conduit for different energies to be in and around humanity at this moment in time, because of the nature of how humanity is emitting a negative energy. The portals are a response from different parts or different aspects of the universe to allow that energy to come through.
Okay. So with that, a change of consciousness, if we have this energy change, it's going to affect everybody.
Well, in terms of how it affects everybody, of course it will affect those that are more highly conscious more. Those that are of a less conscious awareness around the nature of themselves and the nature of how they are in the world will of course have their defence mechanisms up. So it is important that it will, the understanding is important that it will affect people differently, but overall, in terms of the context of humanity and human civilization, there will be a rising of the vibrational frequency and an awareness of what is occurring.
So with the rising of consciousness and the ripple effect that that would have on other universes, is that an opposite, or is it?
No, what is important to understand is the connectivity. We use the word connected, which implies that there is something going on here and there is something going on here. But in fact, there is nothing going on here that isn't going on here, and there is nothing here that isn't going on here. It is all part of what you call oneness. It's all part of the singularity, the unity of that which is the universe. So what happens to humanity at its vibrational frequency has a ripple effect out into this universe. And whether you say there are other universes, whether they are aligned or whether they are contained within each other, there is simply still only the one universe. You can remove all the boundaries between that which is, say, universe 1 and universe 2, but it is still one universe.
Keeps it simple, yes. I think that helps listeners to understand that more fully.
And when you talk about there is only one universe, is that the same thing as timelines?
Timelines is an invention of humanity. It is also an invention that is utilised in other civilizations. Timelines themselves give the, we would say, illusion of movement. So you are moving from one space to another. There is a timeline in between that. But in terms of how humanity can understand the nature of its raising of its vibrational frequency, the timeline itself is elongated. We understand human beings like to know what the time is and how long it is going to take. If we are to translate how the universe works into a timeline for humanity, then we are saying that you are at the very beginning of the transition of raising your vibrational frequency in your overall level of conscious awareness. But what is occurring is, because you are at that start point, then there are many universal energies from across the distant galaxies being drawn into this particular part of the universe to assist. And there is a stabilising effect of those energies as they come in. It's important that when humanity takes the decision as to whether it is to remain where it is or to raise its vibrational frequency, that there is stability and simplicity. But stability is important because the foundations of humanity and its ability to growth are based in love, they are based in fear, they are based in peace, they are based in all the emotions that you have. But within the total context of the emotion, it is the emotion of love, or the frequency of love, that is the, we would say, residing or resident vibrational frequency or timeline. It could be the timeline of love. It does not matter what you call it, but what is important is that you do not become, we would say, fixated on it happening in a particular time frame.
Looking at a timeline as if it were, from our perception, in a linear reality, would you say that the presence of you as Altheris and other collectives like you, as you come through the physical vehicle, as you come through Simon, are you assisting us to create the timeline that we so choose, as in a timeline of joy and happiness? Are you here to assist us in doing that? And is your presence vibrationally passing triggers, codes, keys to others who listen to you, and is your presence aiding their DNA activation and awakening?
You can describe it like that in terms of how you interpret what the energy is doing. That is part of the process as to why energies are coming to this part of the universe at this moment in time. There needs to be a change. There needs to be a alternative level of conscious awareness in terms of that which is the DNA structure, which makes up the fundamental basics of being a human being, and a change and an addition or a tweak, whatever you choose. There has to be a change because, as you know, that which has created something cannot necessarily see the faults or the flaws in it. So it is important that there are upgrades in terms of energetic presence, energetic downloads, switches on, switches off. That is how you can interpret the rising of the conscious awareness of humanity. And it is the universal energies that are coming through, it is the messages, it is the codes that are becoming embedded within the physical body, but not just the physical body, it is becoming embedded in the planet itself, it is becoming embedded in the moon and this solar system, because the whole of the solar system has become affected by the general state of humanity at this moment in time. So as the energies come through, then there are many different things that are being activated, changed, altered, upgraded.
Can you explain to me what the crystalline light body is, or what the crystalline change means, and how can an individual activate this within, or aid this activation?
In terms of what it is the upgrade in terms of the energetic value of the DNA system. Whether you say it is an addition, but it is a switch that allows the absorption of a different energy or a different unique vibrational frequency to allow it to come through the expressive nature of the body. Now, in terms of how a human being goes through that process, one of the things that we recommend for a human being to go through is to start to make their life more simple. Start to understand what they are eating, start to understand the people that they are in contact with, start to understand the totality of their life and what we would say, how they compartmentalise their life. But within the context of that complexity, there needs to be a growing space in which they themselves can start to exist in the stillness and the silence of their being. It is the connection between that which will then be the trigger, once they connect and understand the truth of what and who they are, that will then allow the energies to come through, whether it is the visualization or whether it is the third eye, seeing and attracting, or whether it is the manifestation process. Simply allowing that to connect to the fundamental basics of themselves as a human being, to activate the DNA sequencing. It will allow the energy to flow slightly differently.
You mentioned, or Simon mentioned, that you are 144. Can you explain what that means?
Well, in terms of the way that humanity interprets numbers and numerology, we have chosen that, of course, when we say we are Altheris, we are not saying we are Altheris. That is a name that has simply been given to this as a collective number of energies. We can be a single energy, we can be the totality of the universe, if that is what is desired to make the change and to deliver that which is the information that is required for humanity. 144 is divisible by 12, which is part of the primary sequencing of numbers that human beings understand as their path towards enlightenment, whether it is 3, whether it is 6, whether it is 12, whether it is 12 times 12, 144. That number is the, we would say, totality of everything that you need to know as a human being. 144, you are part of that. It is your DNA sequencing. Of course, you understand DNA as it is 13 of one parent and 13 of another, depending on how you look at it. But there are 144 different energetic points within the physical body that connect to different parts of the universe that then allow the different energies to come through.
So are there 144 dimensions? Did you have a question, Dee?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Could I ask, I realise as Altheris you are all there is and you are pure source, but when you look at that in a more of a linear way, would you say that you are extraterrestrial? And if so, is there any particular point in the cosmos that you sort of beam your signal from, if you like? Are you, for example, Arcturian or Syrian or Pleiadian, or all of these, or is this to do with Simon's genetic makeup as a soul? So can you speak about the extraterrestrial energy that you are and that Simon is, and also about the extraterrestrial energy that humanity is now connected with?
Well, it is difficult in terms of explaining Simon and how he has come into being. In terms of vibrational frequencies, they tend to attract each other. Of course, Simon has the same energy, or the same, we would say, birthing process as that of the universe, which indeed you do have yourself, and you do have yourself. You're all part of the primary structure of how the universe has been formed and where it comes from. When you talk about that which is extraterrestrial, of course you are talking about civilizations that have come, civilizations that have gone, and civilizations that are in progress at this moment in time, such as humanity. What is important to understand is that there is only oneness. You are all part of it, and when you decide or move into that way of differentiating that you are this, you are perhaps Arcturian, or someone else is from Atlantis, or someone else has had 6 different previous lifetimes with another person, you then start to build the creation of an identity. Of course, humanity itself is built on identity, and part of the raising of the vibrational frequency will be the loss of that identity. In terms of where we are from, we are everywhere, and if, as the human body, because it is the transmitter and the receiver of vibrational frequency or energy and messaging, is switched on, and the human being is understanding that they are part of all there is, no distinction, that there is the story of who they are and there is the what of what they are, all there is, then you can connect with truly everything that is occurring in the universe itself.
Can you give any tips to anyone listening to you right now who would like to connect with you or a frequency like you that's right for them? How can they do this?
Firstly, they need, if they are going to go through a step-by-step process, firstly they need to be able to find a space where there is no distraction. It is the distraction of the world that prevents most people from clearly and in a secure way connecting with that which is the energy, which is the universe itself. It is the distraction of having to eat, it is the distraction of having to go to work, all of those kind of things. So to remove as much of that filter as much of that out as possible. And whether you do it on a daily basis, you create that space, whether it is 5 minutes or 10 minutes, create a space where there is nobody about, that you are simply with yourself, attuned to that which is yourself. And of course, you understand the nature of that, which is the thought chatter that goes on in most people's minds, and it goes on ad infinitum. But once you can overcome that, once you can recognise that, once you can recognise that you can observe it and that you are not it, that is when you have made the transition from being thought to actually observing thought. And then, of course, what you do is you then understand you are not thought, you are not the physical body, but you are all there is, and all there is the observer, because the observer is the creator. So you create the space, you become the observer, and then what you do is you simply let go of everything that is you as a human being, and open. You can use the analogy of opening your heart or opening your crown chakra. What is important is that you become open, surrendering and accepting of the truth of what you are. And as through your desire and intention, you then begin to emit a signal that calls for whatever information that you need, whatever energies that you desire to come. And of course, if it is your desire that you wish to channel Altheris, then we will be there for you. But what you should know is that all there is contains all there is. So at some level, when you channel one energy, whether you call it a spirit guide or whether you call it a collective or whatever you call it, you are channeling a part of all there is.
Could I ask you where Simon is right now? I know he's physically you, but he doesn't remember the interaction when Altheris comes through. So when it comes to his energy and his mind, his memory, where is he?
In terms of where he is in what you would say is the ether. He is here, but you cannot see him. What is important is that when you understand how the physical body works, and you understand the sensory abilities of the body to detect certain frequencies, such as your hearing is a range of frequencies, your eyesight is a range of frequencies, then what occurs is that the story which brings into the solid physical nature of how you see Simon, that changes, and he moves outside of that which are the sensory ranges of that which you use as a human being. So he is here. He is not a he at this moment in time. He is energy. So he can come back when we bring him back, or he can come back and he can tell us to leave. There is this energetic responsiveness. We are not in control we are not here to take control of this physical body. We are not here to take the story of Simon away from him. It is for him to decide what to do with that. But of course, as you know, in terms of the blending nature of universal energy and the acceptance of what you truly are, over time that becomes indistinguishable. Of course, you can move in to that which is being the universal energy, or you can move back out to that which is the story, but eventually it becomes accepted as being the same, being the whole thing.
As we move forward with this frequency and this alignment that you speak about, will we be able to do things that we haven't been able to do before? People are speaking about levitation, bilocation, invisibility, or are these metaphors for the way our consciousness is to be expressed, or are these actually literal things that we will be able to do?
These are literal things that you will be able to do in the nature of how you understand consciousness. If you understand your vibrational frequency at this moment in time allows you, Magenta, to sit on that settee. But if you change the nature of your vibrational frequency, it gives you a different experience. Of course, when you realise the vastness of the vibrational frequencies that you can move through as consciousness, you move into different experiences, and the different experiences outside this moment in time of the human vibrational frequency range are bilocation, are telepathy, are levitation. Those are available when you reach a certain vibrational frequency. It is the same when you manifest different experiences in the world. You change the nature of your vibrational frequency and the experience begins to manifest itself. So if you are desiring to bilocate, if you can find that which is the bilocation vibrational frequency that you can raise your level of consciousness to, then you can travel the universe. You can be in your physical body on this particular plane, but you can also be living what you might say is another life on a different planet, or visiting it for that matter.
Is Simon's body getting tired now, or are you able to answer one more question?
Well, we can answer one more question. You can understand in terms of the nature of the tiredness is how droopy this head gets. The lower it gets, the more tired you can sense the physical body is.
And I don't want to wear Simon's energy out, so as briefly as is needed, can you talk about the importance and the significance of dream time, of utilising one's dreams to assist you in your enlightenment process?
Well, that is where most of the enlightenment occurs, because there is no you, the story of you, in the dream. Of course, it is part of the processing. There are different types of dreams, and there are lucid dreams and there are normal dreams, but what occurs is the everyday existence drops away. The story of you, the who you are, as soon as you enter that sleep stage, drops away, and there is no judgment. You are entering into a neutral zone. There is no positivity and there is no negativity. But what occurs within the dream state is it connects to the whole of the universe at that particular moment in time, such that there is a rearranging, there is a processing, perhaps firstly of that which you have had as the experience of the day which you have had. But once that has been processed through, you then have access. The story of you is not there, but the truth of you then manifests itself as the observer. And if you are at the right vibrational frequency in the dream state, you then come into the dream state to experience it as a reality. And that reality can be, as we have said, anywhere in the universe.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
You're
Altheris.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And all your new viewers having a meeting with you today. It's been very special.
And we are grateful to you also, because you too are on the path. You too are providing the energetic resonance that people need to witness, to see, to be encouraged to participate in and move through that. So you are part of this totality. There's no difference between us and what you are doing. We are one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, how lovely.
Okay.
Simon.
Back, Simon. Welcome back to
Oh,
Yeah,
water.
welcome back
It's
to
everywhere.
planet Earth.
Oh,
I have to say, it was, for me, it's very strange because I'm so used to communicating with the nine as at a distance, if you like, outside of me, sometimes in my own body, but through my own perception as being me. And when I'm looking at Altheris speaking through you, it's like looking at the nine talking through
Oh, wow.
someone else. It's
Yeah.
like familiar
yeah.
because it's the same energy,
Gosh.
but unusual and different because I don't know you as Simon, but
Of course.
familiar through you. And it's like looking at the nine, instead of being in me over here, they've jumped into you. And
Yeah.
I guess that's the recognition of oneness in another.
I think it is, at that level.
Yeah.
But very at a very high level when it's actually coming directly from that perspective.
Yes.
So thank you so much. So do you remember anything at all?
I can remember something about a portal.
Okay. Wow, it's good that there's
Okay.
some memory.
There
That's
is
good.
slight memories.
Do you remember sort of, I don't know, being in a dark place or flying through a cloud or
No.
not really?
No.
It's been,
I think
No?
I think I have had experiences of travelling as part of this process, but there's a kind of also, there's something about just simply letting go of it and just there's no need to go anywhere, there's no need to be in the physical body, there's no need to be sitting over there, and it's just this, which is actually part of the process, I suppose.
Yes.
How I would describe it is that it's an expansive way of being that as I'm Simon, I'm confined within the nature of this physical body, but as I go through that process, it's a
Fascinating. Dee, as a hypnotherapist, have you
Yes.
ever had any clients that don't remember what's occurred when they've been in hypnosis?
Yes.
And
Yes,
is it the
when you
same
take
kind
them
of thing, would you say?
Yeah, to a deep level. Yes, when you take them to a deeper level, often they don't have a memory of where we've been and what we've actually dealt with, and especially if we've gone through regression. Yeah, but also interesting, the 144 adds up to 9, doesn't it?
There is a 9
Yeah,
in
there
there
is a
somewhere.
9.
oh wow.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to ask, do you know, I wanted to ask Altheris about the significance of the 9, because I'm fully aware that I'm not fully aware of the significance of the 9, but the 9 was saying to me, you don't need to ask that question, so
Okay.
because they've spoken to me about a similar thing. The geometry
Yeah.
is a frequency, and it's very difficult to even give it a word. So when you say what's the significance of the 9 or the 12 or the 144, it's simply a pattern.
Yeah.
It's simply a matrix that you are awakening within, and it doesn't really have a word. It's just as is.
Yeah.
So you can utilise this. You can actually sit there and say 9, 144, 144. You feel this vibration going on. You can almost feel like the little people in your body going, yes, we know, but what? You know what's actually being communicated here. When I try to process this as a human, I have no idea.
No, neither do I. And I think that is
Isn't it great? It's meant to be that
Yeah,
way.
it is.
It is.
It is.
Because the 9 say about this time lag, when you are in channel, you are in the future. Or really you are in a place where there is no future, past or present. But from a linear perspective,
Yeah.
you are way in the future,
Yeah.
light years in the future. When you're back trying to process it, you're back in the present, which is
Very much
2013.
present. Yeah.
And so we're time jumping all the time. Would you agree with that?
I
Simon?
would, and I think also, to add to that, the limitation of our language and our ability to explain adequately or find the words that succinctly say what it is, it's so far beyond us.
Art is a wonderful way of
Yeah.
expressing
Of course
it. The visual.
Yeah.
You've got these amazing artists that are channeling the same information through the visual,
Yeah.
simply through colour, through picture, through light,
Yeah.
through perspective, and you've got the musicians doing it too, through the
sound.
tunes and the tones.
Yeah.
That's the language of light.
It
It
is.
isn't really words. Words is just one way of doing it. You and I and you, the three of us work with words, but it's streaming in from colour and streaming in from music and all these
the
other
emotion.
places,
Get the
and
emotion,
emotion. Fascinating. Would you like to say anything else at all, Simon? Oh, where can you be reached? If anyone wants to come talk to you, are you speaking to people via Skype?
Yeah, speaking to people via Skype or telephone or one-to-one face-to-face.
So you'll see American clients.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that watch this channel from
That's
the US and Canada.
Well, we have a website called Vibrant Souls, so it's
Lovely.
www.vibrantsouls.com, and there'll be details on there as to how to get in contact with me. Also, we run seminars and workshops, and I also do group channeling as well. So
Do you run seminars online, webinars?
not at the moment. That's something we're looking at developing,
Doing,
but we don't do it at the moment.
Okay, but you will take clients from the US and Canada
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Australia.
Yes.
And I understand you do meditations.
Yeah,
So-
we are, well, at the moment I'm channeling meditations and we're recording them and we're obviously putting them online. We've created a website called freemeditations.co.uk, which will have free meditations because that's what it is, but there'll also be channeled meditations which go a lot deeper and seek to kind of activate the vibrational frequency of consciousness.
And that's in the state of Altheris.
That's in the state of
Right,
Altheris.
so you get the wonderful energy as well as having the sounds.
And is it a magazine you have?
Yeah, we do have a magazine. It's called the Global Heart Oracle. It's email based, and people can subscribe to that when they visit vibrantsouls.com.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, this has been really interesting. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Simon.
No,
thank you,
very
Dee.
much.
No, thank you.
And thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as we have. And we shall see you again.
Thank you.